Okay, guys, I just wanted to share with you all, a little bit of daily life. These are like daily, real life Bible lessons. These are some used mushroom bags that I've gotten gifted. Got some reishi, lion's mane, chestnuts, pepinos. I mean, let's see what this one is. Another lion's mane there. Let me see on the label there, lion's mane, brown, brown beach, and so forth and so on. All different kinds, lots of oysters and everything. Anyway, I was kind of going over. I went over today's lesson earlier, and it's the message of the cross. And we'll just do this while I work here. I'm just going to talk and work and carry these back there. See, I pop the rubber bands off. A lot easier with two hands, but grab it, pull up real hard. They pop out of the bag, right? Some of them are hard enough to where you can't really break them apart with your hand, but cut them a little bit, throw them in the bucket, cut them a little more so they break on down and fill up the bucket. I'm not a very good cameraman. Anyway, keep going, grab another one, pull up on it, pop it out, grab it where it's been cut, yank it out. Whack-a-doodle, pop it, whack it, whack it, toss it in. Anyway, we're talking to the message of the cross in John 19:15 through 27. And it states how the Jewish leaders wanted to, they had him put on a cross, which is meant to be a brutal method for executing criminals. Right? And they put on the sign. Well, at first they told him, we have no king but Caesar. And their own prophecy and everything knew, they were awaiting the return of the king, which the Jewish people still are, supposedly, as we all are awaiting the return of the king, but they didn't recognize who he was at the time. I'm not here to put down anybody's beliefs at all. I'm just talking about difference in beliefs here. So Caesar put on there King of the Jews. They wanted him to chant, no, we only have one king, that's Caesar. Totally ignoring God and just everything else that originally, in the Old Testament, God didn't even want them to have a king or judges. He was going to do all that. But they begged for one like the other nations. So God gave them one. So now when their king came, they totally just did away with any belief that it was him at all. We have no king, only Caesar. And they wanted him to change the sign to say, he says he's king of the Jews. And Caesar told him, what I've written, I've written. So whether or not Caesar really knew, I kind of have a feeling that he knew at least Jesus was telling the truth in some form or another. And, by what his wife told him and everything, that he just knew in his heart the truth. And either way, he revealed the truth to the whole world. Posted in every known language around there, in 3 different languages on the cross. So that everybody could see what the people had done to their king. But, Jesus, in the way he works, taking bad things, and turning them into something good, the cross was meant various things to people in the Gospels. To Pilate, it was where an innocent man died. The religious leaders saw the cross as the way to eliminate a problem. With the rabbi gone, they assumed their position and authority and were safe. They knew that with all the followers Jesus was gaining, if he was in fact the chosen king coming back, their time was up and they weren't ready to give that up. They were comfortable where they were at, When Judas heard about it, that Jesus was condemned to die, he was greatly distressed and committed suicide. Some scholars believe that Judas thought his betrayal would force Jesus to declare his kingship, his kingdom, and then Judas would take a powerful position. And that's interesting to note that what made me think about it, and kind of the reason I'm doing this, is even Jesus had or didn't have doubts, but he didn't want to do that. He begged, if there's any other way than this way. Okay, I think I've been carrying two, but I'll just carry one. He begged, and cried tears of blood, stating that, if there's any other way, let this cup pass from my lips. I'll turn you guys around until we get there. Okay, yeah, if there's any other way than this way, let that be done. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. So, Jesus was fully human. Begged and gave us the perfect example, even though he was willing to die on the cross, willing to do whatever it took. He knew God's ultimate plan. Still didn't mean he liked it. He had to go through it in order to be exalted in the glory. The point being for me, like we looked at Moses earlier, Moses had his cross to bear as well, right? Me and my life, there's just things that may not fit anyone else. Like, say, for instance, carrying a bunch of buckets full of mushroom stuff back just so you might can grow a few mushrooms if something were to happen with the system, which I believe, is very well coming. If we look at the Bible and everything and the signs, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And it tells us we should prepare in every way possible. And one of the ways, I just feel like God kind of left me off, led me down this path, just like Moses went out to the wilderness for years, convicted of murder, or, had murdered a guy, chose to stand up for, didn't sell out his birthright or anything, he believed in his convictions and he stood by them. Even though that meant he had to go out and be isolated and everything for years, all alone, away from his family, had all the power he could have wanted. He could have been the son of the, relationship to a Pharaoh if he would have just said he was the Pharaoh's sister's daughter. Okay, let me turn you guys around here. See, see, these are just back here. Old sites. I filled it up with some logs. See the sticks sticking up there, and some mushroom things here too. Filled this up with a bunch of sticks. You can see them sticking out. And then I'm dumping all the mushroom stuff down in there, letting them feed off of the logs and the sawdust and everything that's in there. Okay. All right. We're going to leave it like that while we walk. I think that's a better view than looking at me. Okay, we got through Judas. In that culture, the cross represented a shameful crime. Knowing the perfection of her child's life and his identity as the Son of God, Mary knew the brutal punishment was undeserved. She also, no doubt, saw it as a fulfillment of the prophecy. And you can see Luke 2:34 through 35, where she was told who he would be and what he would come. And that's not something you forget. I'll show you guys my little friend here. He's right in the path. I took pictures of him a few days ago. It's one of those invasive Java spiders. Oh yeah, nice and close. Kind of a pretty guy. I've been forgetting and walking along. See, that's head height right there. So every time I come through, I forget and I have to duck down and twist around under it. Even though it is invasive, I feel like God might have it here for a purpose, just like he has me in these woods for a purpose. So all the other spiders know to build them a little higher because I walk through. He's a newcomer, so he's got to learn the rules, you know. Anyway, to Jesus' disciples, the crucifixion was the time when their beloved friend and Messiah died. Their close relationship with Jesus seemed to end. What does the cross mean to you? You know, and I kind of went over that a little. I'll turn this back around while we discuss this part. You know, what does the cross mean to you? I know I'm probably making people seasick. To me, it's like Moses. He had his burden to bear, if you will, his cross, his thing that was meant for him to go through to fulfill the purpose that the Father had for him in his life. And as with each one of us, the Father has a plan. He knew you before you were conceived. He has a purpose and a plan. So don't worry about what that looks like to other people and everything. You have to go where you're led. You can't always believe your mind. You know, if you have the Spirit, you have to be led through the Spirit. It's not always going to make sense to our minds. The Spirit kind of works on the heart, right? So you can't always trust that. You have to compare it to the Word, because you can be easily misled by the human heart. So that's what the Word is for. But so to me, the cross is going through me, walking around barefooted, carrying mushrooms. Sure, there's all kinds of ways, that I thought about life should be going and everything. But along the path, I kind of felt led to do the homesteading thing. I'm sorry, I got you guys too close. And along that process, I'm learning, I'm making mistakes and everything, just like, all throughout the Bible. People made mistakes. God still loved them. God still led them. He still supported them. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Okay. Is it the place where a good man lost his life? Back to the cross. What does the cross mean to you? Is it just, where a good man died? Where a troublemaker was eliminated, as the Jewish people saw him, not all, I'm not going to count it, but the Jewish leaders anyway, not all of them. We know that some of them knew who he was. Or the Son of God who died to save you. And to me, that's really, what the cross represents. Yeah, it was a brutal thing for executing criminals, meant to instill fear. Now, for Christians, it's our source of hope that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, committing none, paid the price for the sins so that we don't have to. Every sin that we'll ever make, he paid for on the cross. God was willing to give his Son up on the cross for us because he knew the purpose he had in store, even though Jesus, would have preferred a different way. He gave over to the Father's will. The same thing we need to do with our lives. Whatever cross we're meant to go through, the Father has a purpose for it. He's building us. He's growing us. Jesus was tempted and tried, in the wilderness, had to go out there hungry, 40 days, 40 nights. He did not live a life of luxury. But he was glorified, as we will when we fulfill our purpose that God has for us in our life. We can accept it as Jesus did, that we don't always like it. We pray to him, we call out to him. In the end, we trust in his will. Not my will, but your will be done, Father. And so we can trust to have joy in that fact that we, like Christ, will be exalted. We will become like he is when the time comes. We just have to persevere until that time comes. All right, thank you guys. God bless.